All right, hello and welcome to a Hoi 4 Meta Navy build, how you'd actually do it, just a guide. So today we're going over how to basically win in multiplayer with standard vanilla and how you build a navy to destroy everything. And yes, it involves death stacking. And no, this is not the gameplay that I'm usually used to because I use a different thing. But this is how we do it. So how we're going to do the video is we're going to do the doctrine you need to take. Then we're going to go into the ship designs, the build for them. Then we're going to, after that point, we're going to go to the technologies, the Admiral Traits, and then the officer core section of, and basically there's all the other stuff that you need to have this build work. Okay, so without further ado, what doctrine do you take? Very simple. The doctrine you take for this build is trait interdiction. You don't ever deviate from this. The reason you take trait interdiction is it buffs your heavy cruisers and it buffs your visibility. It makes it go down, okay? And this is the best doctrine in the game. I've covered this before. Battle doctrine, best battle doctrine is trait interdiction. Cool, so you know that. All right, the ship designs. What everybody's actually here for. Okay, so you have two options. There is two options. One is a roach build for you basically are going to build destroyers and heavy cruisers, okay? Your first option is to build roach destroyers. What does a roach mean? It means it has the max speed and this thing is meant to blow up in a battle and die. However, it is covering your heavy cruisers, which will do all the damage, okay? So this is one build. You can see that it is extremely cheap. It is at 592, okay? And you see that it has the designer that makes it even cheaper. This is the meta. You literally build naval bases everywhere you go, pretty much, and you fight there, and you make your ships extraordinarily cheap because range doesn't matter at all. And the armor on capital ships doesn't matter. The heavy attack actually doesn't matter either. So this is an option. However, there's another option. It is currently in the meta. It is the torpedo build. Again, same thing. Ship is extremely cheap, and all you do is you put a little pop gun on it, just like everyone else does, like the other destroyer, except you load it out with torpedoes. What is this thing meant for? It's meant to die in a fiery death. However, it's also meant to fire torpedoes. And if the enemy screens go down first, your torpedoes will punch through the back line, hit the enemy cruisers, and kill them instantly, okay? So this is the build that I went with, and it seems to be the more prevalent one, is just spam out destroyers. Okay. The next thing you need to build is the CAs. You have two options here, okay? The CACL, this is the standard option. You get the Norfolk, so you basically get the coastal designer, and you get rid of the armor because this thing doesn't need armor. Literally has none. Doesn't matter. Heavy attack, again, doesn't matter. You're not firing your main gun at anything. Your range doesn't matter. So what do you build? You give this thing the least powerful main battery because it's the cheapest. You give it a fire control director. You give it secondaries, dual purpose. You give it the best engine. You have no armor. You have no AA gun, and you load this thing out with as many light attack guns as possible, okay? If you actually want to go down a further line, you can, in theory, give it more radar to increase its light attack. However, I didn't do that because it costs even more. Why not? This thing is meant to be pumped out as fast as possible. Okay? This thing is very vulnerable to air attacks. But again, it's meant to kill absolutely everything that's in front of them, okay? That's it. Another variant of this design, which I did not build, is the AA. You're simply just adding an AA gun, okay? But as you can see, the AA gun design, it takes a lot longer. It takes about 15 more days, 16 more days per ship, which actually does add up, okay? Versus not having AA. So most people just don't run AA. It's fine. It doesn't matter, okay? And then you spam this out. This is the thing that's killing everything in the battle, okay? Your destroyers are meant to die and maybe fire their torpedoes, and then this thing is the actual thing that kills everything else, okay? And then there's one exception to that rule, and that's the carrier, okay? These carriers is funny. This is the one ship I kind of agree with, morally at least. You take the design that gets you the deck space on the carrier. Again, armor on carrier doesn't matter because you're getting hit with torpedoes and not actual bullets, and the range, whatever. So, what do you do on this carrier? Okay, basically, you give it the best secondaries for the best AA to shoot down incoming planes, the best engine. You actually do outfit it with radar to increase its AA potential. Give it the best AA guns, and then you just deck space this thing up to its maximum possible. Okay, this is a 1940 carrier, so it's 100. Okay, and then you stack this thing with naval bombers, just 100 naval bombers, and you go kill everything. okay? And you put 4 of them in the fleet. That's it. So, now that the designs are done, this is the build. The build is you build 4 carriers, because you don't go over. You never go over 4. You build as many heavy cruisers as possible, but remember, you need to keep the 4 ratio, 4 to 1. So basically 4 screens, 4 of these destroyers to every 1 capital ship, which is the CAs or the carriers, okay? And hypothetically, you would even want even more, like a ratio of 1 to 6 or 1 to 8, to make sure that these CAs don't die from anything, okay? And make sure that the destroyers all die before these guys, okay? So make more destroyers, then you make the capitals. That's the rule. Okay. So now that that build is done, you just use this. You put all these ships in one thing, you death stack, and you throw it at the enemy, and you win. That's it. That's all that matters. You can even take your starting fleet, add it to this death stack, and throw it at the enemy. Okay? That's the meta. The meta is you throw as much crap at the wall as possible, and you win. There is no strategy. It's just how it is. Okay, unfortunately. So with that, we're now going to go to the technologies you need to make this build work. Okay, so for the technologies, the main thing you need are these 1940 hulls. So ideally, you need the 1940 destroyer. You don't need any of these techs, maybe the retreat thing, but that's not needed really. None of these techs. You need a 1940 cruiser hull with a level 3 engine. Don't need any of the armor. Don't need the spy plane or anything. Ideally, if you're going with a tort build, you're going to want to get these 1940 torpedoes. Very good. And you need the 1940 carrier hull. And for your guns, you're going to want to get these middle guns and the dual purpose, okay? And you want to get these shell upgrades, ideally, okay? Not this one, but you need the shell upgrades for the small caliber, and then this one, because it increases for CAs too. And then ideally, you would want fire control method 2 right here. It gives you your CA, your boost. And then this last one. This one doesn't matter, but you still need to take it to get the 10% damage boost, or even 15% damage boost that these ships give you. So 15% more damage if you take these fire control techs, okay? Another last tech you're going to need is these fire control group guns. You put these on your CA like I showed you, and it increases their damage. And these last radar techs here, you can actually add to your CAs, and they increase your damage output. But by the time you get these, the Navy game is pretty much almost over. And if you want some AA guns, you get the AA, okay? Okay. So now that the tech is done, what are the Admiral traits that you want on your guy, okay? These are the Admiral traits that are a must-have. I will tell you these ones first. Ideally, you need a guy with bold. Now, the reason is Navy speed, okay? He just increases the speed of your ships by 10%, okay? What does this mean? If we look at the actual design, we can see that this ship right here in this fleet goes 45.9, okay? If we look at the actual design, it only goes 36.7, okay? Now, the more speed, that means the less damage that these ships take. He is boosting their speed by having bold by 10%. It is quite significant, and with the 5% damage. If you have an Admiral with bold, get him. If not, make one. Next thing with him is the absolute must-have trait here is Concealment Expert, okay? Minus 20 visibility means minus 20% chance to get hit. That's what that means. You have to take Superior Tactician, or you have to earn it first to get this. So just remember that. Most guys with major navies have a guy that can at least get Concealment Expert right off the bat, okay? Next thing, these are all additional traits that you should try to get. They're not a must-have like Concealment Expert, but they are a decent idea to get. You have to take Naval Fly Swatter, which you have to earn it basically, and you get Cruiser Captain. Cruiser Captain gives you more speed for your cruisers so they get hit less and more damage, okay? Very good. And then last thing here, Fleet Protector, you have to get it, and then your destroyers will get this buff, which basically means that their visibility goes down by 10%, their damage goes up, and then their torpedo chance to hit. If you have torpedo boats, this is a good pick, okay? So now that the Admiral is out of the way, we're going to get to the Officer Corps. What do we do for the Officer Corps, okay? The High Command, so the Chief of the Staff of the Navy, okay, he has to have a very specific trait. As you saw there, Arleigh Burke has a very specific trait. He has Naval Maneuver, this trait right here. Basically, it increases your naval speed at level, if we look at our navies, we can see that, like, if we select, like, a Flakjack Fletcher, we can see that the naval maneuver at 4, 6, and level 8 increases speed. Okay, again, speed means you get hit less. That's what we're going for here. Okay, the chief of the navy needs to have this trait. Okay, so I have Arleigh Burke. He's giving it 5%. Okay, it's not much, but it still matters. You can get, if you use him in battle, you can get him up to 10% or 15%. Very good. Okay, your high command. So this is what you're going to do. Take your high command traits. Okay, your guys need to have, ideally, if you wanted to game it as hard as possible, you need to have a screen expert. Basically, this increases your screen's attack and their defense. The defense doesn't really matter, but it's the attack. This technically does boost torpedoes. You would want them. Again, he's not a major necessity, but he is one to have. Next thing is capital ships expert. Okay, he's going to increase your capital ship attack by 10%, which is the main reason you have him. Okay, the defense doesn't, the armor again doesn't really matter because you don't have any armor on your cruisers. The next thing is the carrier expert. He's going to increase the sortie efficiency by 10, 15, and 20%. Okay, so as you can see, I have the screen guy right here. I have the sortie guy, and I have the capital guy. Okay, the sortie guy, he's going to make your carrier planes do even more damage to the enemy. Okay, so that's the reason you take all of these guys, the chief of staff, and then all of the officer corps guys. Okay, the last thing we're going to cover here is the spirits of the academy. Okay, basically, what do you take for your spirits? Basically, instilled aggression plus 1 attack is never bad. Okay, you can take almost whatever you want here, but I go with the attack. Integrated designer. You can take flexible contracts if you need to get the designer's cost off at 80% at first or whatever. But if you need research speed, you take integrated designers. You don't take any of these sub-primacy or whatever. Integrated designers gives you a ship module increase of 20% and a ship research speed of 20% across every single ship. It's broken. Take it. The last thing here, we're going to take a night fighting. Night fighting gives you -5 visibility. That's the main reason you take it. The night attack doesn't really matter, and the night spotting doesn't matter. What matters is the -5 visibility, -5% chance to get hit. Okay, so now we're done. If you found this video helpful, go ahead and leave a like. Do whatever you want to do. I covered this topic because it was requested. I do not agree with death stacking, and I basically don't like it at all. But it is an option, and if you're playing vanilla MP, it's what you have to do. So with that, have a nice day.